night 6 of 30 nights of love songs, 30 days of love songs, 30 love songs. This song is very romantic to me. And I know that it's probably not romantic to everybody, and I think that one of the beautiful things about romance and about songs is that they may mean completely different things to different people. Different people may have completely different experiences of a song, depending on how they heard it sung, who sang it, what the circumstances were. Whoops, my chair just went down. So this song, I'll tell you in a minute why it's so important to me. Well, I come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. I'm bound for Louisiana, my true love for to see. Well, it rained all night the day I left. The weather, it was dry. Well, the sun so hot I froze to death. Susannah, don't you cry. I said, oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me. 'Cause I come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. Just gonna close this other computer over here because it always makes fan noise, fan noise, fan noise, fan noise. Well, I had a dream the other night when everything was still. I dreamt I saw Susannah a-coming down the hill. Well, a buckwheat cake was in her mouth, a tear was in her eye. Well, I said, I'm coming from the south. Oh, Susannah, don't you cry. Oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me. 'Cause I come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. It's not lost on me that this is no banjo, but I do carry it on my hip. And like I did as a kid with many folk songs, I'd write my own verses so I could kind of tell myself the story, whatever story I felt was in the song. So this is one verse I wrote. Well, I thought I saw you yesterday, walking down the road. A packing mule was by your side, a lonesome heavy load. You were walking out the way I came, southbound, and I could see. Well, the tears were coming to your eyes, but honey, don't you cry for me. So the big question is, why? Why not cry? Why the banjo on the knee? What does it mean? And what this song meant to me was that he was coming for her. He was bringing his banjo so he could sing to her, and he would never leave again. So this brings me to why this song is so important to me. And this challenge is a challenge about romance, and it's a challenge about vulnerability. And it's a challenge to share what I love. Whether I think it's sophisticated or whatever. To actually share what I love and what I love about it. Because I think that that is one of the most intimate things that you can do. And also one of the most vulnerable, to admit that you love something. Like to admit that you love peas, or, you know, I don't know. I used to hear kids sitting around, oh, you like that? Ooh. You know, so like admitting that you love something is like almost more vulnerable than admitting, than, you know, just being who you are. Because you have a choice over what you love. And I know that this song, you know, probably means different things for different people, but it has so much of my life in it. I mean, in part, it has my life in it because one of my favorite places that I ever lived was in the foothills of the Sierras in Calaveras County, which was gold rush country. And I know that, you know, the 49ers were going out there. They were singing this song. So this song was, you know, it was accompanying people with huge hopes that were never going to be realized. And yet there they were, panning for gold. You know, this incredible, beautiful metal. And I don't know, I know I'm romanticizing all of that, but when I was a kid and we lived in the Calaveras County, and I loved, you know, I loved being part of that. I loved thinking I could pan for gold. I loved the buildings. I loved that architecture. I loved everything about being there. I loved that I lived near Mark Twain, where Mark Twain had been, where the Jumping Frog had been. This was beautiful. And there's something else about the banjo. So when I was a little kid, like when I was born, and I was living with my parents, that didn't happen for very long. And I won't go through the whole story, but my mother actually ran off with me. And you know, so my dad went off to work one day, and then he came back, and we were gone. And I learned years later that he said that was the worst day of his life. And I can imagine that. I mean, I know they didn't get along that well, but still, you know. Anyway, so I didn't see my dad. And my dad had a banjo. And my dad had a banjo with this woman painted on it, like fully clothed, but he had this wonderful banjo with this woman painted on it. And so I would go visit him in the summertime, and the way that we connected was through music, was by singing songs. And this was one of the songs that we sang. And this banjo was this magnificent thing. I'd never seen anything like that. You know, this decorated, I mean, this musical instrument with a painting on it was incredible. And so the banjo kind of began to represent my dad. And it's not like our relationship was great, and it's not like he didn't have a lot of problems, because he did. But still, he was my dad, and he had a banjo. So I wish I could play banjo on the harp, and I can't. I can play like ukulele. Well, I came from Alabama with my banjo on my knee, and I'm bound for Louisiana, my true love for to see. Well, it rained all night the day I left, the weather it was dry. Well, the sun so hot I froze to death. Susannah, don't you cry. Oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me. 'Cause I come from Alabama with my banjo on my knee. So, if my dad ever came for me with his banjo, that would have been something pretty amazing. It didn't happen, but I could dream about it. Another thing that I really love about this song, aside from just that it's got this personal connection for me, is I love, oh, Susannah, just like this, they're just like, oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me. Why? Because I'm coming for you. Because I'm coming. Because I'm going to find you. Because I'm going to play this banjo for you. And I'm going to sing to you. And I'm going to just say, oh, Susannah. I say, oh. Don't you cry, oh, don't you cry, 'cause I'm coming for you, oh, Susannah, oh, don't you cry for me. I come from Alabama with my banjo, and now you know what that means. With my banjo on my knee, with my banjo on my knee, with my banjo on my knee. And that's why I love that song. And why it is romance to me. And the thought that you can just sing someone's name up like that. And that it means everything. And that you can say, you don't have to cry because I'm going to be there. And I'm going to be there with music. And I'm going to be there singing to you. I'm going to be there singing with you. And that feels wonderful. It feels like, it feels like childhood being part of being grown up. It feels like being given a gift when you're a kid is music, and then you get to have it your whole life, and it just opens up and opens up and opens up. So that's why I love that song. And you know, I promise that I'll always sort of explain what I'm doing with the music. And of course, anything can be a bossa nova, so you that's what I did earlier on. So I did that. I remember I did something kind of like that in the first part of when I was playing it. And then I just love the more rich chords, like adding ninths and sevenths. And instead of just, I mean, I guess the chords were really so that's pretty simple. It's like C, 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 and G, and C, and C, and C, and G, and C, and then F, and F, and C, and G, and C, 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 G, C. But the nice thing about it being so simple is that it doesn't have to be C, 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 G. It could be C, D minor, E minor, A, and D7, and G sus. It's actually just C major with a 9, D minor 9, E minor, possibly 9, and A minor 9, and D with a G sharp, and I don't know what that means, and a G sus, and C, and then because the C is going up to F, I could also make it C sus, F major 7, F major 7, then I put an E and then the bass, and then D minor 7, and then G sus, and C major 9, and A minor 9, and D7, G sus, and C major 9, D minor 9, E minor, it's not quite 9, and A minor 9, and D7, G sus, C. Now, I might get those wrong because it's not like I learned, as I didn't grow up learning that, but I learned afterwards that that's what it was. And that's what it is. So I just try to tell you if I can. And that just makes it I love that chord. I don't know what it is, but it's like, I don't know, it's just thirds all the way up, but with some changes. Anyway, all right, so I know I'm getting tired. Anyway, you know what I forgot to ask? Any questions? Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm glad that you like that I sing the chords. That's great. I'm glad that that's helpful. It's fun. Yeah, so that is Oh, Susannah. And there's something else that I really love about Oh Susannah. So I actually left home when I was 16. I lived with my mom. My mom was a single mom, and she wasn't that great at it. She was magical, but she was also, she was kind of tough. And so when I was 16, I moved out and I lived with a different family. And I don't know where I would have gone if it hadn't been for them. And that person who took me in, her name was Sylvia and Leo Wolf. And part of what was beautiful about that household was that we were always singing and playing. I sang with their daughter Tanya, and then the other kids from high school came over, and we were just always singing and making up songs. And this was one of the songs. And Sylvia, I want to dedicate my life to Sylvia right now. Sylvia died of COVID-19 the night before last. And that means I will never get to hear her call me Deborah again. I will never get to hear her tell me that she loves me. I will never get to hear her talk about when she first met Leo. And I never get to hear her talk about the end of World War II. We talked about all these things last summer. I don't know why. I just asked her. I would call her when I was out on a run, and I would ask her all about, like, how did you meet Leo? Or, I don't know why I was asking her what it was like when World War II ended. What happened when something that was so, everybody was in the grips of this thing. What was it like when it was over? What was that feeling like? I think I might have talked about this last night too, because I just remember she was describing to me what it was like, that she was walking down a street in Milwaukee, and she must have been, I don't know how old she was, 20s, 30s, and then she just started hearing this sound coming out of the buildings, and sound all over of the cheers of everybody, and then just the joy of everybody. And God, just what an incredible experience, and then what an amazing thing to give to someone else, because I could hear it. I could hear that joy. And I don't know if we will get that. It's not like COVID-19 is going to be over in a moment and we'll get the news. But there is a sense of joy, and so I really miss Sylvia, and I really miss seeing her hands. She played the piano too, and I miss playing music for her. It was so amazing to play music for her, and I would go visit her every time I would visit LA now. And so I don't know when was the last time I saw her, maybe 2 years ago that I saw her, maybe a little bit longer. And just to sit down at the piano and just play and just sing into her eyes, and the way that she listened, she just had this way of listening that was just complete and just there. And I was talking to my friend Paul the other night, and he was reminding me that this was one of the songs that I used to sing there, and that people would sing with me. And anyway, so this song has even more specialness right now. And I had a dream the other night when everything was still. Cause I come from Alabama with my banjo on. And now there are some songs that will never end. They will never be finished. They will never, you'll never hear, I will never hear that voice again, except in my head. So, as much as I love this song, and as much as I love exploring romance, and it was just so wonderful to talk to her about romance and talk to her about what it was like to see the first time she saw Leo, and she knew that she was going to be with him, and he wasn't, you know, he wasn't so sure, but she was sure. And I don't know, I just loved hearing about that. Okay, and now I'm feeling quite vulnerable, which was my goal, and I've done it. Okay, now I'm feeling embarrassed. Why am I doing that? I don't do that. Okay, all right, well, let me just say goodnight to you then. Sherry says, what wonderful memories, and I hope you can hold on to those happy memories. I'm so sorry to hear. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me. Yes, and I found some really wonderful pictures of us today, so that was great. And this is a hard time. And it just feels like, you know, for a while I was like, okay, yeah. And now I'm just feeling like, you know, I'm ready for this to be over. And it's not. So that's how it is with life. I mean, I'm not ready. I'm blabbling now. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. Thank you. I really love getting to come here and sing lullabies and love songs. La 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 lullaby. La 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 lullaby. La 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 bye. La 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 lullaby. Lullaby. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.